Good morning. We're going to start our section on 14.3 today. Now I know I got to thinking in the last lesson in 14.2 there was some math involved doing those proportions, and I didn't put anything on here, and I haven't gone over any of your worksheets this week with you, and maybe I've made a mistake. I don't know. If you're having any trouble, let me know and say, hey, I need you to work through some of these with me. I'll be happy to. But when we go through here, this book is very good at explaining in detail how to work some of these problems. But I know then sometimes when you move to the worksheet, you're like, well, wait a minute, it didn't show me how to do this. So if I don't go over anything with you on the board, it may be because I'm overthinking it. So let me know, hey, I really like it when you go over something or you help me through a problem or two, because I'll be happy to. All right, so let's look at section 14.3, different conversion methods. Now at the bottom of 283, it actually shows the problem that we did yesterday where we were doing the proportion where the lady was working in her garden. She measured, it was 72 inches across, and she wanted to put that stuff across there, but it came in inches, and she needed to figure out how many feet she needed to buy. So they did a proportion. Proportion is just simply one way. Let's look at page 284. There's at least two other ways we're going to talk about. Since multiplying by a fraction worth 1 doesn't change the value, because remember yesterday we said that proportion 1 foot to 12 inches actually equals 1, because those are the same, because 1 foot is 12 inches. So you could actually put 12 inches over 12 inches. Well, remember the same number on top of the same number is 1. Okay, so that's what it's talking about when it's saying you're multiplying by a fraction worth 1. It doesn't change the value. Since the conversion ratio is worth 1, rather than setting up a proportion, we could just multiply 72 inches by our conversion ratio instead. Remember, 72 inches can be thought of as 72 inches over 1. Since dividing by 1 doesn't change the value of the number, we ignored the 1, but we treated 72 as a numerator, as if it were written 72 over 1. Now, what does 72 inches times 1 foot over 12 inches equal? How do we handle the units? Just as we can divide by 12 over 12 to simplify the numbers, we can divide by inches over inches to simplify the units. So I'm in the very center of page 284. 72 inches times 1 foot over 12 inches. Okay, plus inches over inches equals 72 times 1 foot over 12. They took inches away. Divided by. Then they're left with 72 feet over 12 divided by 12 equals 6 feet. Now, notice that we could have simplified both the units and the numbers as we went. Remember, a fraction line means to divide. Since both the numerator and the denominator have inches, the division will cancel out the multiplication, just as it does with numbers. Now, here's the rule. We finally arrived at another rule or method for unit conversions. Once again, this method applies the principles we've learned to a new situation, reducing the amount of thinking we have to do each time. To convert a unit into another unit, just multiply it by the conversion ratio. Be sure to write the conversion ratio so the unit you're trying to convert will cancel out, leaving you with the unit of measure you need. We'll refer to this method of converting units as conversion via the ratio shortcut, and the proportion method we looked at in the last lesson as conversion via proportion. Here's an example on the top of 285. We're going to convert 8 miles into feet. So they've typed out 8 miles. Let me put it on the board just so we can kind of work through it. So they've done 8 miles. Okay. Now, they want to make miles and 8 miles into feet is what we're doing. Okay. Now we know that there's 5,280 feet in 1 mile. So you can just multiply it by that ratio. Okay, now this is what we're doing today. We're taking the number, what we're wanting to change, and then you're going to multiply it by the conversion the conversion ratio. Okay, so remember yesterday we were trying to do we were doing 12 inches over 1 foot. But remember, we were doing it as a proportion, then we were setting up the 72 because we had 72 inches. Okay, well here, this is what we would have done yesterday. And this is what they showed us at the very top of page 284. Okay, now this was our new one up here. This is the one we would have done yesterday. Rather than setting up a proportion, just take it and multiply it by the conversion ratio. Okay, inches cancels out inches. Okay, and then you would divide, because here you would have 12 over 72, or I'm sorry, 72 over 12, and then that would be 6. That's where we get that. Now over here, what this is showing us to do is we're going to mark out what's the same, because they cancel each other out. Okay, and then you're going to be left with 8 times 5,280, which is going to equal 42,240 feet. Okay, now this over here was a little bit different, because notice how you marked out this one and the top one. So you're going to be doing division. Over here we marked out these bottom ones, so we multiply. Okay, now look at the very, very top of 285, right underneath where they did that. It says, notice that we put the miles as the denominator of our conversion ratio, so the miles would cancel out and the answer would be in feet, because that's all you have left. Here's another example they've done. Convert 42,240 feet into miles. Okay, so 42,240 feet times 1 mile over 5,280 feet. Mark out feet and feet. You're left with 42,240, because that's what that is, times 1 miles over 5,280. Divide that and you're left with 8 miles. Okay? All right. Again, notice that we put the feet in the denominator of our conversion ratio, so it would cancel out. Always write the conversion ratio so the unit you're trying to convert will cancel out. Otherwise, you won't succeed in converting to a new unit. Okay? Now, the conversion via the ratio shortcut method might seem a little more involved at first, but it actually saves you a lot of time once you become familiar with it, especially when dealing with multi-step conversions. Now, look at the last part. This is conversion via mental math. Okay? On simple conversion problems, you could just convert mentally. Notice that when we converted 72 inches to feet, we ended up dividing 72 by 12, and you get 6. If we had needed to find the answer mentally, you would have just simply divided 72 by 12. When you think about it, we know that 1 foot equals 12 inches. It follows then that if we were to divide the 72 inches by 12, we'd get the equivalent measurement in feet. Okay? If, on the other hand, we'd started with 6 feet and needed to find the inches, we could find it using multiplication. If 12 inches equals 1 foot, then 6 feet is going to equal 6 times 12, or 72 inches. So 72 inches and 6 feet represent the same distance, just in different units. It's pretty easy to convert between inches and feet mentally, since we're familiar with those units. It's also easy to make a mistake and divide when we need to multiply, or vice versa. So be cautious when doing unit conversions mentally. Sometimes the numbers involved make it hard to solve completely mentally. For example, converting 83.54 inches to feet would require that division, and it shows you there on the bottom of 285. Now that's a little complicated to solve mentally, so you could still figure out what we need to multiply or divide mentally, and then use paper or calculator to find the answer. Now, on example problems, we'll still show how to set up problems like this one mentally. Know, though, that you might need to use paper or a calculator to actually perform the math. So sometimes you can set it up mentally, but you can't get the answer mentally. That's what it's telling you. If you would look at the top of 286, it's going to tell us which method is best. Conversion using a proportion, conversion using the ratio shortcut, or conversion with mental math. Which one is best? It depends. In general, it's a good habit to convert, via the ratio shortcut, as it makes multi-step conversions much easier, which we'll find out later on. So the proportion would be a quick way to do it. The ratio shortcut's a little bit longer, but it's going to be more helpful in the future. Okay? All right, so let's look at our worksheet. Now, I will help you on a couple of these. So let's look at 14.3. Let's look at number 1. It says unit conversions via the ratio shortcut. Okay, you can use a calculator on this. Okay, use the ratio shortcut method to answer the following questions. It wants you to show your work. Now, 7 feet equal how many inches? Well, that one's easy. You're just going to multiply 7 by what? 12. And that'll give you 84. We know that. You can just do that one in your head. Okay, let me see if I can find you another one. Okay, so on A, it does show you, want you to show your work. So 7 feet, how many inches? Well, how many feet are in an inch? I'm sorry, how many inches are in a foot? 1 inch. Oh my gosh, why do I keep doing that? It's 1 foot. Okay, I got to get the conversion ratio. 1 foot is 12 inches. Okay, that's what I want to do it. Okay, and then it says 7 feet. So we want to multiply 7 feet by the conversion ratio. Okay, so we're going to mark out feet, feet. So 7 times 1 is 7. That's not correct. I'm showing you something wrong. It would actually be the other way around. I'm sorry. Da, da, da. Okay, so here we would have, let's see, 7. Yeah, it'd be 7. That wouldn't be right. Let me check my page here. I'm having a little moment. This would be 14.2. 6 feet over. Now that would be 14.3. Yeah. Yes, 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 yes. I wrote it the wrong way. I wrote it the wrong way. Okay. Now, it is 7. Multiply our 7 times our conversion ratio would be 12, because, well, I got to write the 7 feet, 12 inches. I'm losing my mind. I'm sorry. And y'all are witnessing it. This is the ratio they're wanting you to do. The other one would have worked. It would have just required a little bit more work, and we don't want to do that. So here we cancel these out, and then we're left with 12 inches. 7 times 1 is 7, and we don't put that, the feet, because they've canceled each other out. So then you would divide 12, oh my gosh, you would not divide. You would multiply. You're going to multiply. Yeah, you'd multiply 7. Yeah, you'd multiply. It'd be 84. That shows you can't divide that. You would have to multiply, because this doesn't have a doohickey, so you'd have to multiply that. Okay, this is what it would look like. So let's do the second one now that I've good and confused you. I've confused myself. All right, let's look at the second one on B. 1B. 5 miles equal how many feet? All right, so we're going to take 5 miles. I'm going to do it right this time so you're not going to get confused. So we're going to take 5 miles and we're going to multiply that by the conversion ratio. Well, how many feet are in a mile? Because we're going from miles to feet. Remember? 5,280 feet in 1 mile. Okay? Now, this means times. We're going to mark these out, and we don't put this there. That's what I confused you with a while ago. We don't do this here, because remember, this is actually So we just multiply across. And that's what it is. It's 26,000 if you use your calculator. 400 feet. Because that's all that we're left with. Okay? Now, I hope I haven't confused you too poorly. I forgot that the number over here is actually over 1. So we don't move this down here because we're just bringing the 1, because even your answer is over 1. It's understood to be over that. We don't put it. Okay, so that would be your answer then on B. Okay? All right, I'm going to leave you with this. If you have trouble, please let me know and I'll try to help you without confusing you. Okay? That is all your lesson today.